Alrighty, friends, let's review for our 21226 test. So these boxes, pay attention to how much you are relying on that information, because obviously that's not going to be posted for you on there. But the words matter a ton, like they always do in this class. So when you're reading, really be careful. So it says for 1 through 3, use the information below to write an equation for the following arithmetic sequences. So right away, you know there's a common difference. You know that you should be using this formula to find everything that you need to know, and then find the 11th term. Okay, so we need an equation, and then we need a sub 11. All right, so we don't know the beginning term, so we can say, hey, I'm going to end at A9. I'm going to start at A4. I'm going to add my common difference, 9 minus 4 times, because that's how many spaces there will be. But I know the 9th term. I know the 4th term. I do not know the common difference, and I happen to know that 9 minus 4 is 5. So when I take the 7 over to the other side, I have negative 10 equals 5D. So the common difference is going to be negative 2. No one specifically asked me for it, but I need that in order to find my equation. It says write an equation. So A sub n is going to be, and I'm going to start from here, which is A4 minus 2, because that's my common difference. And then this will have to be n minus 4, because I'm looking for the nth term, and this was the 4th term. So that is the formula that they asked for when they said to write a general equation, because a general equation will have a sub n and n in it. And then they want me to find a sub 11, which I can do by just plugging in 11 to this. And when I do that, I find out that the 11th term is negative 7. Make sure you're trying those on your calculator and that you know what you're doing. Don't just trust that I know what I'm doing, because that's a dangerous game. All right, here we already know the common difference, so we can write our nth term formula by saying, hey, we're going to start at the 2nd term and add 3 n minus 2 times, but we know the 2nd term is 5. And then just resist the urge to add the 5 and 3. That is probably the people's favorite thing to do wrong. So here's the equation that they asked for. And then I'm supposed to use it to find A11, meaning the 11th number in my list. So I'm plugging that 11 in, and my 11th number would be 32. I'm stealing those answers off the key because I don't want to take forever to plunk everything up into my calculator. So what's happening is we're getting different information in different ways. Like here we have a graph. We still need to figure out the common difference, and we can do that by picking a couple of points. Doesn't really matter which ones you choose, but let's say I chose these. I'd be saying A1 has a value of 7, and A3 has a value of 6. So I'm going to use that information to help me figure out my common difference. So I can say, hey, if I'm going to end at A3, I started at A1 and added my common difference 3 minus 1 times. But A3 is 6, A1 is 7. And so I'll add my common difference twice. Taking that 7 away, I have negative 1 equals 2 times the common difference. So in this case, the common difference is negative 1/2. They want a general formula. I'm going to choose to use this as my starting point. I'm going to subtract my 1/2, and so this will be n minus 1 because I'm taking the subscripts minus one another, and this was my first term, so n minus 1. So this is the model or the equation that they're looking for, and then I would plug my 11. Ooh, that's fat. I would plug my 11 into that equation, and I would get 2. So before you can find a specific term, you're going to need to be able to find that equation. Okay, that's kind of telling you how to use that formula and making sure that you know how. For 4 through 6, we're going to use the information to write an equation, but these are going to be geometric, so I'll be focusing on this formula over here and understanding that. And then find the 8th term. Okay, so here we're looking for a sub 8. That's the easy peasy part. I'll just plug in 8. First, I have to figure out the equation based on the information that I have. Okay, So I'm going to use my equation to say if I want to end at G6 and start at G3, I'll be using R6 minus 3 times. But they told me that this is 1.5. They told me this is 12. I do not know this, but I do know that 6 minus 3 is 3. I'm going to divide the 12 to the other side. And that's kind of weird to have a decimal inside of a fraction. You actually get 1/8. And that's r to the third power. So to get rid of that, I'm going to need to cube root each of those. And my r will be 1/2. Keep in mind that in your math menu, push the math button, you're going to see both a cube root function and an x root. So say I needed to take the 5th root of something. I would type in my 5. I would select this, and it will know to put that in as your root index. So now I know this, which will help me build my general equation, any number that I want to find. And I'm going to use, I guess, this as my start value is going to be a 12. And then I'm going to put my r value in here. Since this was the third term, my power will be n minus 3. Because just like with arithmetic, it's going to be the n you're looking for minus the subscript of the term. So this is my equation that they're looking for. And then they want me to find g sub 8. So we'll just plug that in. We'll have 12 equals 1/2 to the 8 minus 3 power. And when I do that, I end up with 3/8, which is about 0.375. So I don't really care. It doesn't say if you have to write your answer as a fraction or a decimal. So either one's fine by me. All right, we're going to approach this one the same way and say, hey, if we're ending at 6th term, we're starting at the first, we'll be using our R6 minus 1 times. So I know this is a 96. They told me this is -3. So my R will be raised to the 5th power because that's what 6 minus 1 is. Dividing that -3 over, I have -32 equals r to the 5th. So here's a really good chance to try that on your calculator. You need the 5th root of -32. So use that button where you would type in a 5, go to math, choose this guy, and then put in your -32. And you can take the 5th root of a negative because it is an odd index, meaning there's a 5th root. And when you do, you're going to find out that your r is -2. That's the world's worst -2. So then I can write my general formula. In general, my terms are going to come from, I don't know, I guess I'll start with this guy, -3. Then my r is -2. Do not make the mistake of deciding those become positive. They do not. Because PEMDAS is real, and this is going to be raised to the power of n minus 1 because this is the nth term and this was the first term, so n minus 1. So here's my general equation for these values. And then I'm going to use that to find g sub 8 by putting that 8 in here, and I get out 384 as my 8th number in the list. All right, here I'm doing the same thing, but I have to get my information from data points. So let's pick this one, which is 1, 6. So that's saying the first value has a number 6. And then this guy, which is saying, hey, the second number has a value of 3. So to get to the second from the first, I would use my R2 minus 1 times. This is a 3, this is a 6, and R is going to be simply to the first power because of subtraction. Dividing that 6 out of there, I can reduce that and say, hey, my R is a half. And the reason I don't have to worry about taking the root of it is that it's just R to the first power. So my general equation is going to be, let's take the first term, then our R value, and we're going to raise it to the n minus 1 power because this has a subscript of n and this was the first term. So that is my general equation that they were asking for. And then to find the 8th term, I'll plug in 8. So finding a term is easy peasy. You're just plugging it into your formula, but you have to get your formula first. If you get your answer as a fraction, it'll be 3 over 64. And as a decimal, it's about 0.047. I don't care which way you have it. I just want you to get the right answer. So be able to use that formula pretty fluidly. The table contains selected values of geometric. So as soon as you see that, you know what formulas you're using. You know there's a common R. You have to be thoughtful and careful as you read. Where B and C are constants. Okay, now be careful because it's not asking you to find B and C. It's asking you to find their sum. But first, we have to find them. And the way we're going to find them is by figuring out like what our general equation is. So we have to use numbers where we know both the x and the y, the input and the outcome. So we know that A5 is 32 and A7 is 128. So this is geometric. So I'm going to say, hey, to get to the 7th term from the 5th term, both of which I know, I'll use my R 7 minus 5 times. So from my table, the 7th term is 128, the 5th is 32, and 7 minus 5 is 2 because of 2nd grade. Then I'm going to divide out my 32, and I'm rocking because now I have R squared is 4, which came from 128 over 32. And so when I square root those, my R is 2. Doesn't ask me what R is, but that'll allow me to build a general formula. And I'm starting from something I know. So I'm going to start at 5, use my R, and because, I had to start at 32. I should have had the value there. Sorry. I'm going to start at 32, which is the 5th term. So that 5 appears up here in my power. So this is going to help me find anything that I need. And what I need is this and this. So I can find the B and C. All right. So to find the first term, I plug in a 1 to my general equation that I just figured out. And if you do that, you end up getting 2, which is going to go here, and that would make this the B value. Okay, I need to find C, which is G sub 8, meaning what do you get for an outcome when you are on the 8th term. So I'm using my general equation with an 8 up in here, and I get 256 for that outcome, and that's going to make that letter C because I just found these two table values. So the question asked what the sum of B and C is. So I'd take my 2 and my 256 and I would get 258. So that is going to be a fairly common way to do that because you can't really work backwards from that the way you could if they just asked what the values of B and C are. All right, now we're going to use geometric and arithmetic to go through some kind of application problems. So let's take a look at 8 and 9, and then I'll probably stop because it goes into like general form and graphing, and we'll just make that a separate video. Okay, scientists are studying the growth of a particular bacteria colony. I don't have my context in, which is why I keep zooming in and making it huge, so I'm sorry if that's annoying you. The population of the bacteria colony can be modeled using a geometric sequence. That's so important. I got to read that carefully. Where the first day of the study is day 1. The population on day 5 is 7,000. That is so important. They are telling you that G5 is 7,000. And then here, later on, the population on day 8 is 32,000. So they're telling you G8 is 32,000. That's going to be the information we can use to build our equation. The question is, what is the population on day 7? So they're asking us for G7. Well, in order to find G7, we need an equation. And in order to find the equation, we need the R. We're doing the exact same math we did up above, but it's just built into like an application. So to get to G8 from G5, which are the two I know, I don't just randomly put a 2. I know that I'm going to use my R 8 minus 5 times. But from the information given, I know that G8 is 32,000. I know that G5 is 7,000. And I know from second grade that 8 minus 5 is 3. I literally just made that up. I have no idea when you learn subtraction, but probably you guys knew it when you were 3. Who knows? Okay, so I'm going to work this thing backwards. When I take 32,000 and divide it by 7,000, I end up with r cubed equals 32 over 7. So my r is going to be the cube root of that, which obviously I can use as a decimal, but for right now I'm just going to leave it. It's going to make my life easier. So my nth term is going to be, I'm going to use the 7,000, which keep in mind is the 5th term. So here I'm going to have my cube root of 32 over 7, and then I'm going to raise it to the n minus 5 power because I started with the 5th term. And so to find g of 7, I'm going to have 7,000 cube root of 32 over 7 to the 7 minus 5, which is obviously 2 power. And obviously this would be on the no calculator part. You would just have to do that in your brain. And so you would come up with 19.281. Actually, that's a lie. That's 19 with a comma, not a decimal. I actually have to do it on my calculator because I'm staring at what he did and I can't read his writing. So let's do this together. 7,000 parenthesis. I was kidding about doing it without your calculator, by the way. And then in the parentheses, I'm going to choose from my math menu, cube root, and I'm going to have 32 over 7. I'm going to close out my cube root, and I'm going to raise that to the 2nd power. And I typed it in wrong. I'm so sad right now. I'm going to try it again. 7,000, big fat parenthesis, cube root, math, going down, getting my cube root, and I'm going to put in, I forgot, 32 over 7. I'm going to exit my cube root, and then I'm going to raise that to the 2nd power. There we go. So what I really got was 19,281. See, I was on a roll. 0.138. And since this was an application, I'm going to tell them what I have because I don't have that many bananas or monkeys or coloring books. I have that many bacteria. So that is going to be my answer. I had to work kind of hard for that answer, but good thing it was the same math that I had already done up above. So let's wrap up 9 and 10. During the busy season, the most popular roller coaster at a large amusement park experienced a technical issue and was forced to shut down, which is why you should never go on them. They're terrifying. The number of people waiting in line for the ride to reopen can be modeled by an arithmetic sequence. This is so important. After 7 minutes, there were 46 people, which means A7 is 46. Extract that information as you go. After 15 minutes, there's 134. So A15 is 134. According to the model, how many people will be in line after 19 minutes? So I need this, but first I have to get a model. I'm choking to death as always. Okay, to get a model, I'm going to need to know my common difference since it's arithmetic. So to get to the 15th term, I start at the 7th term and add my common difference, 15 minus 7 times. The given information tells me the 15th term was 135 and the 7th was 46. No clue what the common difference is, but I do know that 15 minus 7 is 8. Okay, so taking away the 46, mathing my way to it, I end up with, I just wrote 135 randomly. So here I end up with 88 equals D times 8. So my common difference is 11. And I kind of feel like I should get a cookie or something, but I don't really need to find the common difference for the answer directly. What I need it for is to build my general equation. I need a starting value, which I'm going to use as my 7th term of 46. I'm going to add my common difference. Since this is a 7, it's the 7th term, I'm going to have that be an n minus 7 in here. And they're asking me about a sub 19. So 46 plus 11, and then the 19 goes in here. I'm going to use a little bit of math magic called a calculator. And I have 178, and this is people in line. So when I answer a question on something that is asking about a specific scenario, I'm going to go ahead and label it so that I know what I have 178 of in this case. All right, let's do this last one for this initial video. Let a sub n be an arithmetic sequence with a1 equals 4 and a4 equals 25. What is the value of a2? Okay, we're still doing the same thing. It's just presenting in a bunch of different ways, but it's arithmetic. So I've got to find that common difference so I can build a general equation. So to get to the 4th term, starting from the 1st, I'm going to add the common difference 4 minus 1 times. If the 4th term's 25 like they said, and the 1st is 4 like they said, and 4 minus 1 is 3 like elementary school says, then I'm going to take that 4 away. I'm going to end up with 21 equals d times 3. So my common difference is going to be 7. Feel pretty happy, feel pretty proud, but I really am not done. I need a general equation so I can find any term that I want. So a sub n is going to be my initial term. I'm going to use the 4. And then I'm going to add my common difference, n minus 1 times, because this was the 1st term. So to find the 2nd term, I'm going to plug in a 2. Now, you guys are big brain people. So you're probably realizing that, hey, if I know the 1st term is a 4, and I know my common difference is adding 7, I could probably figure out that my 2nd term is 11 without showing that work. That would all be fine as long as you determined this first 7, and then in some form or fashion, you showed how you got that 11. Okay, so this is going to transition into kind of graphs and understanding exponential growth and decay. So I'm going to quit here. I'll make another video for that. But hopefully this helps you get a start on the review for the sections that were specifically on arithmetic and geometric. Alrighty, bye guys.